Then let's move on to the third and final is for customer success.
Yeah, really interested in this one.
This one's definitely more complicated, and there's more behind the scenes magic from Microsoft in terms of how this is going to work, because it's looking at the prior 12 months and are you adding more seats, creating more adoption this period versus the previous 12 months. So you always have to be moving the yardsticks forward on your deployments so that you continue to get recognized for the ongoing success of your customers, which is ultimately what Microsoft is trying to partners to do, is not just to get it deployed, but to really incent the partners to stick with that client, to help with the deployment, to get more product out there, get more adoption, get other products deployed. So it's really going to be critical that you not only do the deployment, but you stay with that customers so that you see them adopt and their overall usage growth increase over time. So
expanding into those other workloads. And we do have advisory services that we actually include in all of our monthly subscriptions. And and it's just a time for us to sit down and explore, the other 70% of the license, the Microsoft subscription license that they're not using, right? And the customers don't realize that most of them are only using 30% of it. So this is going to be huge for us.
If you don't mind clicking on the view requirements there,
you got it.
Through that so you can see there. So you'll see here, concept of CPOR, claiming partner of record, is essential for partners here. It has to be part of your process. And this is another one of these areas where it's not only you need to insert it into your process to make sure it happens, but it also needs to be part of your process ongoing to ensure that you continue to hold and maintain that CPOR designation. We want to be sure as partners that we're getting that designation and keeping that designation of CPOR there. So, that's critical, as well as the CSP designation. If you're selling the licenses either directly or through a tier 2 provider, we want to make sure that you're noted as the partner, the CSP partner. So also important to notice here what products considered eligible for workloads. And you can see there Intune, Exchange, Pro Plus, SharePoint Online, Teams Meetings, all the different Teams products. Let's take a look at the calculations for customer success. So the key things to remember in the modern work customer success criteria are that there are two subcategories you need to obtain points in. They are deployments for a maximum of 25 points, usage growth for a maximum of 30 points. Next is the calculation for deployments. The formula is the total qualifying customer deployments in the latest month subtracted from the total qualifying customer deployments from 12 months ago. So this is how you'll calculate the points you're going to get for the deployment criteria. A note here is this excludes any deployments claimed or associated in the last 12 months that already had a usage of greater than 40% at the time of claim or association. So that means that anyone you associated with your organization that was already 40% deployed at that time won't count in your formula. Next is the scoring for deployments. There are two different approaches for acquiring points in this category, and it depends on how you claim the work that you did, whether you claimed as CPOR or as a CSP. You can also claim as both, but you'll only receive points under one. If you claimed as CPOR, you'll receive 5 points for each qualifying deployment up to a maximum of 25 points. And similarly, if you claim under CSP, you will receive 2.5 points for each qualifying deployment up to the maximum of 25 points. Quick note here, and I mentioned this just a moment ago, is that if you're claiming under both, you will only receive points under either CSP or CPOR, and it's the one where you have obtained the most points that you will receive. Now let's move on to the calculation for usage growth. This is the second subcomponent of customer success. Calculation for usage growth is a little more complicated, and it's the sum of monthly active users, or MAU, the sum of your monthly active users in the latest month subtracted from the sum of your monthly active users 12 months ago, subtracted by the sum of the monthly active users at the time the claim was associated or claimed, if the claim or association occurred in the past 12 months. What this means is that if you claimed or associated a customer within the last 12 months and they had some level of monthly active users at that time, you won't get credit for those monthly active users that were already deployed. So again, it's the sum of the monthly active users in the latest month subtracted from the sum of the monthly active users from 12 months ago, subtracted from the sum of the monthly active users at the time the customer was claimed or associated with your organization, if that claim or association occurred in the past 12 months. Now let's look at the scoring for usage growth. Similar to the other points metric on deployment, there are two different ways that points are earned here, and it depends on whether you're claiming under CPOR or as a CSP. And to achieve the threshold for points here, you need to have achieved a monthly active user of 500 if you're claiming under CPOR. If you're claiming under CSP, you need to have a monthly active user count of 2,000 or greater to achieve the threshold of points. Similarly, if you are both CPOR and CSP for a customer, you will only receive points under the one of the two areas, CPOR or CSP. You cannot receive points under both. I hope that helps, and let's jump back into our conversation with Brian. Just something to keep in mind. We talked about the calculations. And again, this is, in my opinion, one of the harder ones for us as partners to measure because it is all done in Microsoft's back office. But I encourage partners to look at, if you know you have increased a deployment or deployments and you're not seeing that being recognized, that you reach out to the Microsoft support desk.
So question for you on this, Rob. I mean, on the claiming partner of record, when we say deployments, trying to figure out that definition a little bit further, right? So if I do a migration and I migrate a customer from, Google Workspace to 365, obviously that's a deployment.
Yes.
But then I turn around and 2 months later, I do Teams, Microsoft Teams design and planning. And maybe after that, I come in and I help them with some Teams calling or something like that. Can I claim those as different? Can those be different deployments? And do I get more points based on that? Or is it just based on the customer, what I've done for that customer?
It's a great question, Brian. So let's dig into that. This is the difference between a net new customer being added and net new workloads being added. So think about the calculation here that in the customer scenario where you've deployed them and now you're going back and adding additional workloads, it's the total qualifying customer deployments in the latest month versus the total qualifying customers from 12 months ago. So you're now adding additional workloads and you'll get credit for that. Additionally, under the usage metric, if you continue to add monthly active users to an existing client's deployment, you're going to get credit for that as well. So you can be earning points in both categories under customer success. So I hope that helps to clarify your question.